Manchester United have received two fresh bids for Mason Greenwood, with apparently one set to be accepted in the next few days. Joao Neves' £59 million bid rejected by Benfica, and Ineos have put 7 players up for sale, hoping to raise around £200 million in player sales. These are some of the stories we will be discussing on this morning's live show. But before we get into that, please do me a small favour. Smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 500 likes on today's show. And if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe to the channel. We're only 2 subscribers away from 25,600. I'm live every single day at 8:30 a.m, 1 p.m. UK time and 6 p.m. in the evening as well. So make sure you get involved for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Okay, right, let's get straight on into it then. Let's start the show off by talking about these players that Ineos have been put up for sale. Now, this story broke last night, and I'll be honest, it's not really breaking news to me because the information I've always been told is that Manchester United will need to sell to buy this summer. I know people don't like that. People think that we should be spending 500 million, but that's not the way that football works anymore. Because of the profit and sustainability rules that were brought in a couple of years ago, it means it's more difficult to spend the money. Even if you have the money to spend, it's actually now quite hard to spend it. We can see that with Newcastle. You see that with Man City in recent years. Like, a lot of these clubs are having to sell players in order to then buy more players. I do think these rules will change, to be honest, in the next kind of 5 years, because at the moment, I don't think the system really works. And they are bringing in some new sort of system, aren't they, where it's something to do with how much you make versus times by 5 or something like that. But at the moment, the system is simple. It's, you know, it's the profit and sustainability model. And for Manchester United to be able to do the business they want to do, they need to sell this summer. So the headline is this, that Manchester United think they can raise about £200 million in player sales this summer. I'm going to go through each of the players and I'm going to tell you how much Manchester United are apparently asking for them. So we'll start with Casemiro. He's the first name on the list. We know that Saudi clubs are interested in Casemiro. He's got a value of £40 million. And the other thing you have to consider with Casemiro as well is he is on about 350k a week, which is about £20 million a season in wages. So letting Casemiro go will save us lots and lots of money. I know he's a good player. I know he's been one of the best CDMs in the world for the last decade or so. But I think at this stage in his career, at the age of 32, if we can cash in on him now and recoup some of the money we gave to Real Madrid, I think it's the correct decision. So I've got no issues with that. 40 million for Casemiro. The next player is Victor Lindelof, 29 years of age. He is the Sweden national team captain, so he does have that leadership mentality, but I don't think he's really good enough for Man United anymore, being completely honest. I would rather see Willy Camboala get opportunities than him. I would probably rather even see Johnny Evans get a game than him. And I know that sounds a bit crazy, but that's the reality of it. And the other thing we have to remember with Victor Lindelof is he only has 1 year left of his contract. He's currently attracting interest from Fenerbahce, Galatasaray. It's mainly Turkish clubs at the moment who are going for him. His market value, or at least the asking price, is about £15 million, which I think is probably fair. He's still, 29, captain of the Swedish national team. He is, he's an okay centre-back. And I think if he went to Turkey, to a team like Fenerbahce or Galatasaray, I'm sure he'd do really, really well. So, no problems with that one. The next player on the list is Harry Maguire. Again, 1 year left of his contract. Big wages. He's on about £200,000 per week. We know that last summer he nearly moved to West Ham, but was unwilling to agree to the wage cut, which I know a lot of people were disappointed with that. A lot of people said he's got a weak mentality. Does he not want to play football and all the rest of it? But in fairness to Harry Maguire, him staying at Manchester United was probably the best decision because he played most of the games last season. He was probably our best centre-back alongside Johnny Evans, which I know is a sentence I should never be saying as a Man United fan, that our two best centre-backs were Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire. But that was the reality of the situation. Martinez was injured for most of the season. Varane was injured for most of the season. Luke Shaw, who was our third choice centre-back the year before, was injured for most of the season. And Lindelof, I don't really know what happened to Lindelof. I think he was injured as well, wasn't he? So Harry Maguire probably feels quite happy with himself. He's still collecting his 200 grand a week wages. He's probably, most fans would say he was our best centre-back last season. Obviously, our best centre-backs weren't available, but from the available centre-backs, Harry Maguire was our best. So, yeah, in relation to a transfer fee for Harry Maguire, the story says that about 20 to 30 million pounds is the asking price for Harry Maguire. Again, no issues with that whatsoever. I would definitely look to move Maguire on. There is still interest in him. Apparently, West Ham are still interested. There's even a story this morning that says apparently Everton are interested in him. Is there a world where we reapproach Everton and say, we want to go back in for Jared Branthwaite? Are you interested in Harry Maguire still? If they say yes, maybe we can do that deal. Because the big difference between this summer and last summer is last summer, Harry Maguire had 2 years left of his contract, earning £200,000 a week, right? So there was no reason for him to leave at that point because he could just sit happily at Manchester United, pick up his £200,000 a week wages, and happy days for him. Whereas this year, he's only got 1 year left. This time next year, he'll be a free agent. Now, what happens to Maguire if he has a really bad season or he has a really bad injury? He's screwed because no one's going to take him next summer if he's been injured all year or something happens to him. So I actually think this is a great time for Harry Maguire to look for his next club, to try and, plan for his future. Yes, he's probably going to be on lesser wages, but if Everton say, we'll give you 150k a week on a 4-year contract, it's a no-brainer for him. So I wish Harry Maguire all the best. I think in a defensive setup, in a low block, a back five, I think Harry Maguire is genuinely one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League, but none of the top teams play in that style. It's more teams like Everton or teams down the bottom of the league who play that very defensive, hit on the counter-attack type setup, which would suit Harry Maguire's skill set. So, yeah, that's Harry Maguire. The next player we've got for you is Christian Eriksen. Again, I was excited when Eriksen joined. I think he's obviously a very exciting player, but he's 32. I think his legs have gone. I don't think he ever really fully recovered from that horrible injury he had at the Euros. That life, he almost died, or he did die for a couple of minutes, which is absolutely terrifying. I don't think he ever really fully recovered from that. And I think, Christian Eriksen, he's been here for 2 years. If we could get some money for him and clear his wages, I think that would be a good option. He's got 1 year left of his deal. You're not going to get any money for him after now because he'll leave for free. So, yeah, I personally don't think Eriksen will leave because I just don't think anybody will buy him, whereas I think there is a market for Casemiro, Lindelof and Maguire. But you can let me know what you think about that. Next one is Antony. So, in relation to Antony, apparently Ineos want rid of him. So Dave Brailsford, Dan Ashworth, they don't rate him. They think he should be sold. I don't see how we could sell Antony, to be honest. Who's going to buy Antony? You might be able to loan him out. Maybe that's the best option for him. I think Antony's stock price is at rock bottom. If we were to sell him, you'd probably be lucky to get 20 million, maybe 30. And that's not even me being dramatic. Who in their right mind is going to pay big money for Antony? He was okay in his first season and he was terrible in his second season. Yeah, we got absolutely mugged off by Ajax. Again, another terrible bit of business by John Murter and Richard Arnold. And that's a mistake that we can never happen again. That can't ever happen. Okay, never. So yeah, I would love Antony to be sold, but it's just simply not going to happen. Let's see what else people got. And then the next one I've got for you, I'm just going to rattle through all of these really quickly and then we'll move on to other topics. Okay, so for anybody who's just joining, we're talking about Ineos putting £200 million worth of players up for sale. The next player is Jadon Sancho. In relation to Jadon Sancho, at the moment, Manchester United are asking for about 40 million for Jadon Sancho. They've offered him out to Arsenal, to Liverpool, to Man City, to Barcelona. At the moment, they're having trouble. Not many people will want Jadon Sancho. I think his wages are high, 250k a week. Obviously, there's questions about his mentality, about his attitude. And 40 million is quite a lot of money for a player who effectively could go to another club and repeat the same mistakes as what he's done at Manchester United. Now, one of the stories that we had yesterday that we brought to you was that apparently Manchester United had suggested Jadon Sancho to Barcelona. Barcelona really wanted him, but said they didn't have the money to buy him, which is obviously not surprising, seeing as Barcelona are in a mess financially at the moment. But apparently Barcelona floated the idea of a swap deal involving Jadon Sancho and Rafinha, which I think is an interesting option. I'd be interested to see what you guys think about that. Would you like to see Rafinha come to Manchester United? I know he's an ex-Leeds player, which I know will upset some people, but it'd be interesting to see what you guys think of that one. yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Would you do a swap deal? Let's do a poll, shall we? Actually, so we'll do this. Would you? Whilst I'm setting up this poll, if everyone could do me a small favor and smash a like on the video, we've set a likes target of 500. We're about a quarter of the way there. So if everybody who's watching the video right now hits the like button, we will hit our target. And please do go and subscribe as well if this is your first time watching. We're now only one subscriber away from 25,600. So let's make sure we hit that by the end of today's video. Okay, let's do this. Let's do, would you swap Jadon Sancho for Rafinha? I've probably spelled Rafinha's name wrong, but there you go. Okay, so the poll's set up for those of you who want to get involved in that. Obviously, if you're watching it back on repeat, you can let me know in the comment section. Would you swap Jadon Sancho for Rafinha? Let me know. And then the final player is Mason Greenwood, who I'll talk about in depth in a minute because there is a big news story that broke last night. But yeah, Mason Greenwood's the final player that Ineos have put up for sale to try and raise around £200 million. My understanding is that £200 million includes wages, so it will be transfer fees plus wages. We'll get them £200 million off the books, which will be amazing. So just to recap, it's Casemiro, Lindelof, Maguire, Eriksen, Antony, Sancho, and Greenwood. Those 7 players. Now, I would add to that list Donny van de Beek, Hannibal, Pellistri. Like, at least those 3 should be added to that list. McTominay. Like, we should easily be selling over 10 players this summer, in my opinion, without a shadow of a doubt. I agree with all 7 of those players that we've just read out, but Donny should definitely be on that list, although no one's probably going to want to buy him. Hannibal should be on that list, I think. Pellistri, I know some people say that Pellistri should get game time and all the rest of it, but I would much rather see Ahmad get game time than Pellistri, and I don't think you're going to get both of them playing week in, week out, because obviously that's not possible really, is it? So I probably would let Pellistri go, but he's probably one I'm kind of sat on the fence with. I wouldn't be really upset if Pellistri stayed, but the only issue with Pellistri is he's only got a year left of his contract again, so Manchester United either give Pellistri a new deal or he leaves for free next year. So a lot of these kind of decisions that we make, it's not me sat here saying that Pellistri's rubbish, get rid of him. It's looking at it from a more level-headed perspective and saying, you know, if we don't get rid of Pellistri now, we'll lose him next year for nothing. And that's the reality of the situation. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with that one. But apparently 7 players have been put up for sale. So yeah, we'll wait and see how many of those actually get sold. I'm expecting all of them to get sold, and I'm expecting there to be more than 7 players. I want Dan Ashworth to come in and prove to us why he's the right man for the job. You know, like that needs to happen. So yeah, let's wait and see what happens with that. Let's check out a couple of comments in the live chat today. See what people are saying. Let's see what we got. Don says we should try and convert Antony to a left back. I mean, I said that earlier on in the season, you know? Like, what other option do we have for Antony? He's clearly not good enough to play as a right winger, but he is quite good defensively. I mean, that just shows how desperate we are, isn't it? But yeah, let's move on from that, though. Let's talk about Joao Neves quickly, shall we? Because obviously, this is a big story that broke overnight. So this is coming out from Portuguese outlet. Let me just get the name of it correct. I'm not very good at my pronunciation of names, so bear with me here. So it's come out from a very reputable Portuguese outlet called, it's a newspaper, magazine, and online website. It's called Correio da Manhã. I've probably said that terribly. It's one of the biggest newspapers in Portugal. They have a website. They have, you know, it's kind of like the equivalent of, I don't know, The Guardian or whatever in England, for anybody who lives in England. But yeah, it's a very reputable newspaper over in Portugal. I've had to translate the article because obviously it's all in Portuguese and I don't speak Portuguese. So yeah, I've got the translation for you here. And the headline is this, that apparently Manchester United have had a bid rejected of £59 million for Joao Neves. The story says that apparently Benfica are holding out for the full release clause, which is around £100 million. Now, somebody in the comment section before the video started said, like, how the hell are we putting in bids of £59 million? You know, if we need to sell to buy, how are we doing this? Well, the thing that we can do, which I think a lot of people forget about, is Say we bought Joao Neves for 100 million, right? Then we could spread that over 5 years. So although 100 million sounds like a lot of money, most of these deals will be paid in installments. So it will probably be 20 million this year, 20 next year, 20 the year after, etc., etc. So we wouldn't actually be expected to give Benfica £100 million in cash immediately. It would be over probably a 5-year period. So I think it makes the deal a little bit more plausible. Obviously, £100 million is a ridiculous amount of money for a 19-year-old who's only played, I think, 1 season in the Portuguese league. He's not even playing for Portugal at the Euros. He's on the bench. So we don't really have a lot to go off with Joao Neves other than potential. Joao Neves is clearly a very good, talented player. The idea of him and Kobbie Mainoo being our midfield for the next decade excites me, but it also scares me a little bit as well because a £100 million price tag is obviously a ridiculous amount of money, and it's such a big amount of money that you always have to ask yourself, how is that going to affect the player's mentality? You know, we've seen so many players move for massive amounts of money and then not live up to their potential. A prime example, João Felix. Atletico Madrid paid about £130 million for him from Benfica, the same club, at about the same age. He's the same nationality. He goes to Atletico Madrid. He's gone off loan to Chelsea. He's been on loan to Barcelona. Like, it just hasn't worked. They've effectively wasted that money and they'll never get that money back. So as much as I would like Joao Neves to come to Manchester United, I do feel a little bit worried about it, but that's only because of the price tag. If we got him for £59 million, it would be a bargain. It would be a great bit of business. But if we do pay that 100 million, like, I think it's a massive risk. And I think most of you would agree with me, right? Another example is Enzo Fernandez, you know? He had one good World Cup for for Argentina. And then he sold from Benfica to Chelsea for 120 million euros. Can you honestly tell me that Enzo Fernandez is worth 120 million euros? No, he's not. He's probably worth about 60, 70. And that's the point I'm trying to make here. I like Joao Neves. I think Manchester United should sign him. I just think paying £100 million is ridiculous. You know, when we could go and get Manuel Ugarte for 40 million, who is a couple of years older, but is much further forward in his development. For £100 million, right, you could literally buy Amrabat. Do you know what? I'm going to do a poll, actually, because this is quite an interesting point when you do it like this. Let's do this. Let's do a poll quickly. Why not? So the results of the last poll was 80% of people watching the video would swap Jadon Sancho for Rafinha and 20% if you wouldn't. So that's interesting. So we're going to do this. What would you rather for 100 million? Whilst I'm setting up this poll, if everybody who's just joined could smash a like. We've got over 800 people watching now. I've set a likes target of 500 for today's video. So if you haven't subscribed, please go and do that. We're still one away from 25,600. So please make sure you do that. Please make sure you smash a like. I'm just going to set up a poll quickly. And it's going to be, again, what would you rather for 100 million? Okay, give me 1 second here. I run all of this myself, so yeah, I do all this myself, so I've got to set up all the polls and things. I can't. Bear with me 1 minute. Okay, cool. The poll's set up, and let me explain the poll to you before you all start voting. So the what would you rather for 100 million question is Joao Neves is going to cost 100 million, whereas we could sign Amrabat, 19 million pounds release clause, Ugarte for 40 million, and Rabiot for free. So I've said 100 million total package, including all the wages, whatever. So you have two options. You either get Joao Neves on his own for 100 million, or for 100 million total package, including signing on fees, wages, all the rest of it, you could get Amrabat, Ugarte, and Rabiot. And the question is, what would you go for? Let me know in the comment section. And let me know, on the poll as well. But yeah, so the story says that Manchester United are apparently still interested in him, although the bid's been rejected. It does also say that apparently PSG have been in talks with Benfica as well, which does scare me, to be honest, because we know PSG have got a ridiculous amount of money. We know that PSG have just got rid of Kylian Mbappe, so have probably cleared God knows how much money Kylian Mbappe was on, but it was probably millions a week, wasn't it? So they've got probably a lot of money to spend this summer, PSG. I would love to see Joao Neves. I just don't think it's realistic at this point. And, you know, if we needed one player, great, go and sign Joao Neves. But I think we'd all agree that we probably need like anywhere between 5 and 10 players. We probably need 6 or 7 first-team players. We need probably 2 centre-backs, a left-back, a right-back, a central defensive midfielder, a right winger, and probably another striker, you know? And maybe even a goalkeeper, some would say. So to go and spend 100 million on one player is probably pretty unrealistic. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens for that one. Obviously, I like the player. I think he'd be good at Manchester United. I think just the transfer fee, as I've said, does scare me a little bit. But, you know, that's all part of the game, isn't it? Yes. Okay, cool. Let's talk a little bit about Reguilón quickly. So for anybody who missed the videos yesterday, apparently Manchester United have approached Tottenham to re-sign Sergio Reguilón, which I think has caused a bit of an upset in the fan base. You know, people are saying, what the hell are Ineos doing? Like, we're going backwards. And I actually came up with the view that I actually think signing Reguilón would make a lot of sense. He's available for literally a couple of £1 million. He's on really small wages, about 50k a week. And if we want Harry Amas to break through into the first team and become the player that a lot of people think he will be, for anybody who doesn't know who Harry Amas is, he's a 17-year-old, one of the most promising names in our youth academy, left back, somebody who is expected to break through into the first team in the next few years. Now, if we were to go and sign a world-class left back, someone like Guterres from Girona, who we've been linked to, Harry Amas's development's effectively over then, isn't it? He's never going to play. Whereas if you bring Reguilón in as a backup, because we can't rely on Luke Shaw and Malacia, because we can't, I think it makes a lot of sense. But again, I'd be interested to see what you guys think. Would you like to see Reguilón come to Manchester United? I know people aren't going to be excited about it. I know no one's going to be, going and getting Reguilón printed on the back of their shirt. I get it. He's not the most exciting, trendy name, but I think for the context of what I'm saying, Reguilón would be a cheap, safe option. And I think he played okay. He seemed to have the right attitude, the right mentality. Is he world class? No, but he's an okay squad player. That's my take. And I think, as I said, Man United need probably 10 players this summer. And we're not going to be able to sign 10 players for £50 million per player, are we? So you've got to be realistic. You've got to get your priorities straight. Where do you want the money to be spent? That's the question. But yeah, let's see what people are saying in the chat then. The Red Devil says no to Reguilón. King YC says let's walk away from Joao Neves. Yeah, I don't think Man United will pay 100 million for Joao Neves. I'd be very, very surprised. I'd be actually shocked if that was to happen. Cool Gamer Boy says, is there any news on Ugarte and Ligt? Yeah, we're going to talk about Ligt now, actually. So in relation to Ligt, apparently the deal will be done next week. That's what is being reported this morning. So this is coming out from Neil Custis. He is reporting that Matthias de Ligt is set to complete his £40 million move to Manchester United once the Netherlands Euro 2024 campaign is over, which is next week. I think the final is on either Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember. But yeah, apparently Bayern Munich are ready to accept a bid of £34 million plus add-ons. I've got no issues with that. I'm happy with that. I think it's a good bit of business. I think Erik ten Hag can regain what we saw in Matthias de Ligt when he played for Ajax. So I'm really excited about that one. I think it's a good signing. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you guys think. Are you happy with Matthias de Ligt for £34 million? Do you think that's a good bit of business? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. We've got 870 people watching live now, which is absolutely incredible. If everybody who's watching live could hit a like, that would be really, really appreciated. We're halfway to our likes target, which is 500 for today's video. And we are still one subscriber away from 25,600. So if everybody who's watching now who isn't subscribes, we will hit that and I will be a happy Kieran. So yeah, big ups to all of you. Okay, let's move on to this Mason Greenwood story then, shall we? And I just wanted to say as well, so in relation to Mason Greenwood, okay, cool. People are asking me to do a poll about Mason Greenwood. I'll do it one more time. Why not? Let me read out the results of the last poll though quickly. So I asked you, what would you rather for 100 million? The options were Joao Neves or Amrabat, Ugarte, and Rabiot. 79% of people watching today's video said they'd go with Amrabat, Ugarte, and Rabiot, and 21% of you said you would go with Joao Neves. So that's interesting. And I would go with the Amrabat, Ugarte, Rabiot option as well, to be fair. Okay, let's do a poll on Mason Greenwood. Loads of people are asking me to do it in the chat. This will be the last time I do this poll. Obviously, please be respectful. I don't want, just yeah. I know everyone has an opinion on Mason Greenwood. Having an opinion's fine. Just, be respectful about it. So the question would be, should Manchester United sell Mason Greenwood? There you go. The poll's set up. You keep asking me to do it, so I've done it. This is the last time I'll do it. I'm not going to do a Mason Greenwood poll again. Obviously, if you're watching this back on repeat, you can let me know in the comment section. The question is this: should Manchester United sell Mason Greenwood? Let me know. You can give me your reasons and stuff as well, but just be respectful about it. Okay, so I'm going to bring you the news that's come out overnight on Mason Greenwood, because we've had 2 bids received. This is coming out from Damasio, who is a very, very reliable Italian journalist for Italian football. I don't think he's very reliable outside of Italy anymore, to be honest. But for anybody who doesn't know, Fabrizio Romano started off as, I think he was Damasio's kind of like apprentice. He worked for Damasio. But so as well, just to say as well, there was someone saying in the comment section earlier about the video, the title saying, "Here we go," with a question mark. I mean, do people understand what a question mark is? A question mark is asking a question. Like, I don't really understand, but I don't know. People. The thing that always confuses me is people commenting on a video before they've even watched the video. Like, it doesn't really make sense. But okay, so I'm going to bring you guys the news now, and we can decide whether "here we go" with a question mark is like a valid subject for the title of the video. So Damasio, again, as I said, very reliable for Italian football, is reporting that apparently Lazio have made a new offer for Mason Greenwood. The original offer was about 20 million euros, which was apparently rejected, rightly so. I think that's an absolute joke. And it says that they are now very confident about completing the deal to sign Mason Greenwood in the coming days. So we're pretty much there, But then at the same time, Damasio is also reporting that Marseille have also offered for Mason Greenwood, and apparently they have offered more than what Lazio have offered. So Lazio offered 20 million euros. That was rejected. Lazio went back in with a second bid. I don't know whether that's been rejected or not. So Lazio's second bid, was 25 million euros with a sell-on clause of 50%, which would mean if, for example, Lazio would give us 25 million euros. And if, for example, they sold him for £50 million in the future, Manchester United would get half of that money. So does that make sense? It says Lazio are now willing to increase their bid for Mason Greenwood to 25 million euros, which will be enough because Manchester United have lowered their demands for the player. It says the 25 million euros offer would include a 40 to 50% sell-on clause. Greenwood has said yes and wants to move to Lazio. So this has literally come out overnight. We've been talking about Mason Greenwood for so long. Lazio have been in talks with him for so long. This deal is at the final stages. And that's why, hence, it says, "Here we go," with a question mark, because this reputable journalist has said that Lazio are now very confident about completing the signing of Greenwood in the next few days. From a tier 1 Italian journalist talking about an Italian club wanting to buy a player. So yeah, I think the "here we go" with a question mark is a correct title, but obviously if you still think that's incorrect, then that's obviously completely up to you. Yeah, I have no issue with people giving feedback and stuff, but obviously it's always better if people actually watch the video before they're like, why does it say "here we go" with a question mark? It's like, well, how are you supposed to understand if you haven't seen the video? But yeah, sorry, it just annoys me a little bit, but obviously that's fine. If you still think that that's an unreasonable title, then that's completely fine and up to you. But yeah, let me know in the comment section. What do you guys think? Do you think 25 million euros is enough for Mason Greenwood? I honestly think it's a bit of a lowball offer still. Like, what's that in pounds? Obviously, I'm in England, so I do things in pounds. My brain doesn't work in euros. 25 million euros is about 21 million pounds. I mean, if that's all we can get, that's all we can get. If that's what the market says he's worth, that's what the market says he's worth. There's going to be people in the comment section saying Mason Greenwood's worth 100 million. I mean, he might be to me or you. Like, you might value him as a £100 million player, but if there's nobody who wants to pay that for him, then he's not worth £100 million. It's the same, like, you know, a great analogy of this is, right? Say you have a house, you've spent loads of money doing up your house, and you've done it in this really, I don't want to say strange, but you've done it in this really unique style, your house, right? And you go to get it valued, and the estate agent says it's worth £100,000. And you say, oh, no, it's worth £500,000 to me. And the estate agent says, well, there isn't a market for it at £500,000. You know? It's exactly the same situation with Mason Greenwood. Like, is he worth more than £21 million based on what we saw of him at Manchester United? Yes. When he was at Manchester United, he was banging in goals. He was probably an £80 million player. But things have changed. Obviously, all of that stuff happened off the pitch. Like, and there isn't anybody willing to pay £80 million. So what do? We just sit there and wait, saying, please, someone give me 80 million, and no one does. Or we sell him at the value that people are willing to offer. Like, that's our reality. Those are the options. And yes, it seems low, but obviously this sell-on clause allows us to profit off a future sale. So say he goes to Lazio, say he does turn into an £80 million player again, and a Barcelona want to buy him, we'll then get half that money. I actually think it's fair, to be honest, like, because they are taking a massive risk. They're taking a huge risk. So, yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with that one. But it looks like Mason Greenwood will be sold. I think we all expected Mason Greenwood to be sold. There's still some people in the fan base clinging on to the hope that he would come back and he would, you know, be playing every single week. But I don't think that was ever going to be the case, to be completely honest with you. And I know some people won't like that. Some people will say why. They'll say the system's unfair. That you're obviously completely entitled to your opinion, but you have to look at this in a realistic viewpoint. Manchester United wanted to bring back Mason Greenwood. Okay? That's a fact. They pretty much were about to announce that he was going to come back. John Murta and Richard Arnold made the decision that Mason Greenwood will be put back into the first team. This was this time last year, right? That story got leaked to The Athletic, the news website, and then the fans went crazy. The women's team went crazy. Everyone went crazy and said that we don't want him back. And within 24 hours, Manchester United U-turned on their decision and got rid of him. They're not going to change their mind again. Like, they just won't. So whether you want him to stay or not, it's kind of not relevant anymore. Obviously, you're entitled to your opinion, but we can look back over the recent history of the Mason Greenwood situation and see, and see what happened, and see that Manchester United aren't going to bring him back. So yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? And we've just got to move on from it. All we can do is take the money and reinvest it somewhere else. Gono says, "What's the huge risk?" Well, the huge risk is that they're paying money for a player who once had a market value of 80 million, had all of this stuff off the field happen, all of these horrible things, right? And Lazio are effectively buying potential again. They're buying a player who could be worth 60, 70, 80 million pounds in the future, or he might go to Lazio and not do very well, you know? Like, they're not buying Mason Greenwood when he was prime in form. It's the same as anything, isn't it? You know, I know people will say, oh, well, he wasn't convicted, blah, blah, blah. Put all of that aside. Mason Greenwood's brand, his stock price is at rock bottom because of what happened. Whether that's right or wrong is not what I'm debating here. I'm just giving you a pure fact. He is not worth the amount of money that he was when he played for Man United. It's as simple as that. There's no argument to it. Let me just have a sip of my water. Somebody says Mason Greenwood doesn't even want to come back anyway. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that people seem to forget about. People saying it's a disgrace that he's not coming back, bring him back, he's innocent, whatever. All of the people that have spoke about Mason Greenwood in the media have said that he doesn't want to come back to United anyway. You know, he's gone off to Spain and he's got a new life with him and his partner and his newborn child. Why on earth would he want to come back to England? Like, for anybody who lives in England and knows how the press work in England, they are notoriously some of the worst. You know, every time he leaves his house, every time he goes to buy a chocolate bar from the shop, there'll be people following him, taking pictures, putting it up in the newspapers, you know? Like, he can go to Italy and probably just live completely under the radar. He obviously was at Getafe and lived completely under the radar. So yeah, but let's move on from that though. I think we've spoken enough about Mason Greenwood. We should probably get confirmation on this deal then in the next couple of days, I hope. Okay, there's a story coming out from Samuel Luckhurst, which is a bit of breaking news actually, about a player we're about to sign. So this has literally just come out in the last 20 minutes. And it's about, I'll be honest, I've never heard of him, Samuel Ligt from Crystal Palace. It says Manchester United are close to signing 16-year-old winger Samuel Ligt from Crystal Palace. It says Ligt is represented by Rocky Nation, who describe him on their website as a quick, dynamic winger who is regarded as one of the most exciting attacking players in the UK at the age of 16. Now, I don't think there's much to be excited about here, to be honest. I think he's just going to go into the youth academy. But again, it's a news show. I bring you the news and we discuss it. But yeah, it looks like we're about to sign him. I'll try and do some digging on him and talk about him on a later video. He's Slovakian, 16 years of age, can play as an attacking midfielder and as a right winger. Has been at Crystal Palace for most of his career. That's all I know about him. So not really too much to get excited about. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens there. Okay, let's see what people are saying in the comment section quickly. Gono says, is Getafe Greenwood not worth 40 million? As I said, mate, right? Greenwood is only worth what people are willing to pay for him. We've asked for 40 million and no one wants to buy him. He's not coming back to Manchester United. They don't want him back. He doesn't want to come back. So it's all good and well, you know, you saying, oh, he's worth 40 million. But if no one's going to pay the 40 million, he's not worth 40 million, is he? He's only worth what people are willing to pay for him, realistically. And they all know that Manchester United don't want him back. So it's not like we can just say, oh no. Like with Branthwaite, they don't want to sell him. So he's worth whatever they want to him. Whereas Manchester United publicly want to sell Mason Greenwood. And if the clubs don't want to pay 40 million, Manchester United will probably take whatever they're willing to pay, realistically. See what else people are saying. Okay, we'll come back to the live chat in a minute. I've got a couple more news stories I want to rattle through. We've got 900 people watching the video live now, which is absolutely incredible. Big ups to all of you. If everyone who hasn't liked it already could hit the like button, that would be appreciated. We're only about 100 likes away from our likes target, so please go and do that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please also do that. It doesn't cost any money. It's completely free content, so there is no reason to subscribe. Unless, of course, you don't like the content, then obviously that's completely fine. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say on that. But where are we? So yeah, obviously, there's a bit of news on Jadon Sancho coming out from Manchester Evening News, just to bring you before we wrap the video up. Apparently, Juventus have approached Man United again for Jadon Sancho, but they want to do a loan deal. I mean, this is where we are this window. We've got all of these players worth money on big wages, but nobody wants to buy them. Nobody's willing to take them. They want them on loan. The story also says that apparently Juventus are still willing to offer Federico Chiesa as part of a swap deal. I mean, I would take that now. I would literally take a swap deal for Chiesa for Jadon Sancho. Let's do a poll on it quickly, actually, before we end the video. Let's do that. So the question's going to be this. Would you swap Sancho for Chiesa? I think we're getting desperate now. I think, you know, if Juventus genuinely want to swap Chiesa for Sancho, I would do it. Like, I don't think we really have any other option, being completely honest. There's more stories this morning linking us to Bournemouth left-back Milos Kerkez. I think he'd be a really, really good option. But again, like I said earlier on in the video, I think Bournemouth are asking for about £30 million for him. And what does that then mean for Harry Amas? Like, unless Luke Shaw's going to be sold, I don't really see the point in bringing in a new left-back, to be honest. I think Harry Amas should be integrated into the first team, because if Kobe Mainoo can do it at the age of 18, why can't Harry Amas do it? You know, Harry Amas, I think, turns 18 this year. He should be implemented into that first team. And what I like about Erik ten Hag is his ability to bring through the youth players. We've got a player in Harry Amas who is good enough to be a Manchester United player, from what I've seen of him and what I've heard from people who watch the youth academy every week. So why would we not give him that opportunity? Why would we go and spend money somewhere else when we potentially have that within our own youth academy, you know? So yeah, that's my take on that. But obviously you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Lots of people are saying they would do the swap deal for Chiesa. Yeah, I would at this point. We're not going to get 40 million for Chiesa. Sorry, for Sancho. We're not going to get it. No one's willing to pay it. Is Sancho worth 40 million? Yes. Like, think of it like this, right? When we bought Sancho from Dortmund, nobody else wanted to buy him, but we still paid 75 million because we're dumb. There was no market, there was no competition, but we still paid over the asking price. Whereas now, with Jadon Sancho, with Mason Greenwood, with all of these clubs, there are so many people who want to buy him, but none of them are willing to pay the money we want. Like, but you know, yeah, it's just frustrating, isn't it? But it is what it is. I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. It's been an amazing show this morning. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined me. I'll be back at 1:30 for a lunchtime catch-up update, whatever you want to call it. Please make sure you smash a like on the video before you go. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new. Obviously, it's completely free content. Doesn't cost you any money. So, yeah, please do subscribe. Please do like. I'll be back at 1:30, and I will also be back at 6 p.m. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for joining me, and I'll speak to you all a bit later. Bye for now.